Welcome back to the Road Racing 360 show presented by 1833 CJ Knows. We've got an awesome episode in store for you this week. We missed last week because we were off to the races at Virginia International Raceway, but we're back this week to fill you in on what happened last week during the World Superbike race at Aragon, the MotoAmerica race at VIR, as well as some MotoGP news before they get back to racing this weekend. As always, big thank you to the show sponsor, the people that make it all happen, 1833 CJ Knows Accident and Injury Law. They ride, they race, and they know the law. CJ Zaya and his team at 1833 CJ Knows will get you covered if you have been involved in an accident or wrongfully injured. So give them a call at 1833 CJ Knows. This week, no MotoGP race action to fill you in on, but we do have some spicy news from the world of MotoGP. And to start with, it is that Andrea Dovizioso has agreed to a bigger Aprilia MotoGP deal. As we've talked about in previous episodes, he has been testing for Aprilia. It has been announced that he will continue to do so for the remainder of the year. And more importantly, in my opinion, I think this opens up the chance that he may do a race at some point in the year. It would be really sweet to see Dovi do a wild card after he gets maybe a little bit more time testing on the Aprilia RSGP, but we'll see. I think this is a step in the right direction to see him return to the paddock in a, racer role rather than just a test role. If it doesn't happen this year, I'm kind of expecting Aprilia to pull the trigger on signing him as a race rider for 2022. Speaking of 2022, it was announced that the Ducati factory MotoGP team will be keeping Jack Miller on as a factory rider for 2022 as well. This really should be no surprise considering how well Jack has been doing lately. What I think really sealed the deal for Jack was his sick knee-dragging donut that he performed after he won at Le Mans, as you'll see in this video right here. I mean, just look at him go round and round, dragging his knee on his factory Ducati bike. I mean, it was pretty sick. I mean, that's got to be, if I saw that, I'd be like, all right, let's renew this guy. But no, it is the fact that our boy Jack has won 2 races so far this year, is looking really, really good. And after the little bit of struggles that he saw at the opening rounds, he has already turned it around and shown that he deserves the role that he has. So it is no surprise that Ducati has re-upped him, seeing as he is a legitimate shot at the title so far this year. Now, I could do an entire MotoGP preview video, but that would take an entirely long time, and I'm going to not do that. But I will say MotoGP is back at it this weekend at Mugello. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. My prediction, I would say, I think Jack Miller continues. I mean, this is a good track for Ducati. We've got long straightaways, a place that doesn't favor the Yamaha so much due to that fact, a place that likes high speed, which the Ducati seems to have favored. And considering Marc Marquez is still recovering from injury and some of the other competitors are still somewhat struggling a little bit here and there, I think it'll be a good race, but I think Ducati is got to be the favorite coming into this. Now off to the other major worldwide series, and that is World Superbike. We have not really had that much news from World Superbike so far in the Road Racing 360 episodes, and that's due to the fact that they finally just had their first round. So finally done with all the kind of boring testing news where I just give you a couple of results here and there. We got a pretty exciting first weekend done in Aragon over the last few days. Johnny Ray did not give anybody time to question if he was going to be the top dog again this year or not, because he came out swinging. First race, he goes out and just straight up wins. Not really much of a contest. I turned on the race with probably like 15 laps left. Jonathan Ray was already gone. It was just a battle for second at that point, and it was an incredible battle, actually. We watched Alex Lowe's and Toprak Razgatioglu just freaking go at it. Now, these two guys battled it out for the entire last few laps. And while Alex Lowe's looked like he was the faster guy, he couldn't quite make a pass stick due to the fact that Toprak is so good on the brakes. Toprak came out of the last corner leading, but Alex Lowe's would set him up perfectly to pass him coming right to the line, meaning he would get second, Toprak would get third. Now in this Super Pole race, there was some tricky conditions, and it would be Jonathan Rea which would win that race. Alex Lowe's would again come home second, and our American homeboy Garrett Gerloff would find his first podium of the year with third in the Super Pole race. Now remember, the Super Pole race sets the grid for race 2, which meant Garrett Gerloff would get a front row start. Now in race 2, we would see some of the riders line up with intermediate tires as the track was wet but drying, and then we would see some line up with slicks. Nobody knew exactly what the right answer was from the get-go, but we would soon find that out. So towards the beginning of the race, we did see Jonathan Rea leading and Garrett Gerloff close by in second. We would then see kind of an unexpected move to where Gerloff kind of made a miscalculated move where he says he wasn't really trying to go for the pass, but he sucked up to the back of Jonathan Rea so quickly that he really didn't have much of a choice except to try to stuff it up on him. That didn't really work out for either rider. Gerloff would tuck the front and crash, and that would in turn send Jonathan Rea off the track. Impressive motocross skills that we have seen his training put to good use, considering Jonathan Rea was able to have this little off-track excursion, keep up on the bike, and come back on the track only in 4th place. This would allow Scott Redding, one of the riders who did have the slicks, to take advantage of the drying track conditions. He would check out for his first win of the year. Jonathan Rea would come home second, and Alex Lowe's would make it third. Now, Garrett Gerloff, although he did crash, did not end his race. He was actually able to get back up and finish 7th by the time the checkered flag flew. Now, this is really impressive because it's actually a better result than he had in the first race where his tires kind of fell off and he got 9th. So overall, pretty good weekend for the American. Good way to start out his 2020 campaign, but not as good as Jonathan Rea. That guy has picked up where he's left off with the domination. He is leading the points. So he has picked up where he's left off. He's looking good for some more domination and another title. This has got to be like his 16th in a row at this point. I've lost count because I can hardly remember the last time he didn't win the championship. Now moving to America. Like I said, we missed last week's episode because we were at the MotoAmerica race at Virginia International Raceway. And in the Superbike class, Jake Gagne would continue where he left off in race 2 at the first round and just dominate the whole weekend. Man would qualify on pole, just win both races by a pretty significant margin, especially race 2, and just show everybody that he is here to do what Cam Beaubier did last year. Now in race 1, we would see Matthew Skoltz, Josh Herrin, Loris Baz, and Cameron Peterson round out the top 5. And then race 2, it would be Loris Baz, Matthew Skoltz, Josh Herrin, and Bobby Fong who would round out the top 5 there. Each race would show some pretty good battles, not for first because Gagne had that pretty well wrapped up, but for the podium places, we would see some absolute dogfights. So if you haven't, go to MotoAmerica's page, tune in, and check out what happened there because you missed a great battle. Now in Supersport, before the weekend, it was announced that the reigning champion, Richie Escalante, broke his collarbone in a bicycle accident while training. So although he had a broken collarbone, he did get surgery to get it fixed, and 2 weeks removed from the surgery, he was back in the saddle to continue his title defense. Now in race 1, it would be his rival, Sean Dillon Kelly, taking the win, Stefano Mesa in second, and Ben Smith wrapping up his first podium in the Supersport class in third. Richie would finish 4th, not that far behind, and he would show that Sunday he would be feeling much better as he would take the win over his rivals. Sean Dillon Kelly would be second, and Stefano Mesa would make it 2 podiums on the weekend for him in third. Moving to Stock 1000, we did see Jake Lewis show that he is for real and has not lost it after his year off. He would come home and win race 1. Corey Alexander would be second, and Jeff May on the Honda would be third. Now in race 2, we would see a last lap battle just go down to nearly the last corner, where Corey Alexander would come out on top, but it wasn't without a fight from Jake Lewis, who would make an attempt to pass for the lead on the last lap. That would run both of them nearly off the track and some elbow banging action, as both guys would not give an inch, but it would be Corey Alexander coming out on top. Of course, like I said, Jake Lewis second, and then Michael Gilbert would almost benefit from this battle, but he would not quite be able to get past the guys, and he would come home third. In Junior Cup, it was Ben Gloddy, David Kolstad, and Tyler Scott wrapping up the top three in race 1. Race 2 would see Cody Wyman take his first win, Ben Gloddy second, and Max Toth third. And then to wrap up our MotoAmerica news, in the Twins Cup, it would be Teague Hobbs in first, Jackson Blackman second, and Chris Parrish, the old man, taking home his podium in race 1. Race 2 would see Jody Berry on the Aprilia R660, Jackson Blackman with his second podium on his first weekend on that Yamaha in second, and then Caleb DeCarroll also on an Aprilia R660 come home in third. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Road Racing 360 show, presented by 1833 CJ Knows Accident and Injury Law. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, and share. We will see you guys next week.